Welcome, gang. We got a great weekend.
Benoit Blanc, the detective?
Mr. Blanc, I cannot overstate my gratitude to be here. When's the murder mystery start?
Obviously, the first one, beloved, loved that one as well. And so there's a lot of anticipation built into a sequel. And obviously, as newcomers to this one, did you feel the kind of pressure to live up to the hype of the first film?
I did.
You did?
Yes. You didn't?
No, because it felt like such a brand new thing, and it felt so its own. The only thing that was connecting them was Daniel.
Right.
And so I trusted him, and then the script itself was so, I mean, its own bird, and it just felt very, I just felt like, I don't know, I just trusted
That it would be what it was.
Ryan.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no, I was nervous. You know,
Yeah.
the first one was so successful, and they were all so great. So I wanted to make sure that I don't know, I just wanted to hopefully bring something in the characterization that was as rich and as interesting as I thought they all were.
Well, in a way, your two characters are more complex in terms of their relationship to Miles than maybe some of the other characters, because there's an element of wanting to do good and still being tethered to this person
That's
that
right.
isn't necessarily altruistic in his motives. But all of that sort of is not secondary, but I guess complementary to the comedy, right? It is funny. And I was wondering, what is your approach to something that exists in the kind of comedic bubble? Is that different to how you approach other roles?
I mean,
Simple answer, no.
it's like different. I guess it could be like different. How much pressure you put on the gas in certain moments, but I guess it always has to come from the same place. It always has to come from the same source of like rooting, and it's all in the script. It's all in the script. So, and it always comes from the same like source of looking in your scene partner's eyeballs, and it's all the same source. And that's especially in something like this, or like my favorite things I get to do are the things that are like that in between stuff, like that's not strictly this or strictly that, or it's
The rules of the genre are a little more flexible.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, this stuff that and there were tons of, that deep belly laughter, that stuff on the set, especially when it came to Kathryn and Claire. But it was always it's because she's so committed.
Right.
You know what I mean? She's so means everything she says. Kathryn's almost never trying to make you laugh.
Except off camera.
And, right. And that just like that tension of trying so hard not to laugh. It's a beautiful
We had
bubble
fun.
up.
Straight away, one of the first kind of moments where you two are talking about the Twitter thing, and I'm Jewish, and the moment where you're like, I didn't know that word represented all Jews, and you're like, Jewy? I actually screamed with laughter. I thought it was one of the funniest lines in the film. But obviously there's a lot of humor laced into it, but the stakes are quite high, and I was wondering how, as actresses, you balance hitting those comedic notes while also kind of maintaining those stakes.
I mean, that's our job.
Yeah.
So, right.
Yeah, of course.
So
of course.
hopefully we did
You do
that
it very
well.
well.
Okay,
Yes,
good.
yes. Is there a specific way that you approach that kind of role, I guess?
I mean, it's funny when people ask these questions. For me, it's always like I approach things the same. The approach is always the same. I'm very thorough with character. You're really only as shiny and as good as your director and your castmates and the team that they put together, because in terms of really kind of digging into character, it's always the same: comedy, drama, whatever it is whatever story it is that you're telling, for me at least. So there's just different backstories for me,
right.
And then this one was fun because it's a murder mystery, because Ryan, in the editing room might need to change certain things around. There are moments where he would say, let's change it up for everybody,
Right.
Lighter, more menacing, more scared, more, so you got to kind of play around with it a little bit, which was fun.
I also think with comedic moments like that, especially something I learned watching like you and Kathryn especially, is it's always so funny when you're delivering absolutely redonkulous lines, but like completely straight.
Right.
Because I guess like what makes it funny is the character believing it
Right.
so wholeheartedly and not seeing any like.
Yeah, the balance between grounding something
Yes.
and the broadness of it.
Yes.
Yeah, it's tricky. Like those things are. Everybody always wants to say comedy feels easy, but to me it's the most challenging.
Right.
Because you got to walk a tightrope.
Right.
Totally.
Right. And I think you're probably the straightest especially compared to Birdie. You've got that kind of like trying to keep everything on the rails.
Thank
a little
God.
bit. I know, right?
Something to balance.
But I guess were there moments where you were like struggling to keep that straight face in a kind of room of all this
Sure, everyone is
chaos?
so funny. There were moments when I corpsed all the time, and there were also moments where I was like, oh, I wish I got to be as out there and as crazy. So I was always trying to push that on my end.
But I think you're a little bit of a lens for the audience in that way, though, because obviously we have Janelle Monáe's character, who really is kind of the lens for the audience a little bit. But I think because you're the straightest of the bunch, that is a little bit of a window into the absurdity of everything else.
And you see that with you there's a scene with her and Ed Norton where you can, I think is really important. And also just as for me, the balance, like the scene we did in the bed, that to me is what I was able to do, and that is nothing without what she's able. You know what I mean? Like the straight man to my insanity is like that's a marriage.
Yeah.
It has to be a really good marriage.
Yeah, yeah.
Or it doesn't work.
That was my audition scene.
It was.
Really? Yeah.
Was there anything that was unexpectedly challenging about the script or the rules of the shoot that you weren't maybe anticipating would be difficult?
Well, it's a long night, and there's a few big revelations in the night that change things, and so just the most tricky thing, it's not brain surgery or anything, but the most tricky thing for me was just remembering what I know in this moment, so that I'm not so that I'm playing the truth of this particular moment. I don't know that. I don't know what's gonna happen in 5 minutes. Yeah.
Or what happened before.
That's
anyway.
right. That's right.
Yeah.
The stuff I didn't see.
Yeah,
right. Like there's
exactly.
stuff in the film that I don't know ever.
Yeah.
But that we've read. So we were talking last night about how many times we were like huddled around the script supervisor, who was so patient, who was like, let me check, really? Like very frazzled, but very, very patient.
Right,
He would like
right.
be flipping back in the script while we were all huddled, being like, what just happened?
Yeah.
Right.
Because we would constantly have to be checking in to make sure we were all on the same page, continuity-wise, because we couldn't, sometimes it was just hard to remember what we knew at that moment.
Yeah, absolutely.